Kurt Darr's article, Dr. Jack and His Death Machine, written in 1994, states that assisted suicide is the intentional death of a terminally ill patient with the help of a physician. There are millions of people today that face terminal diseases which take anywhere from days, but sometimes years to end. Hospice, Michael Tapley's Hospice Transfer for Patients at the End of Life, Part 1, in which he states that a very small percentage of people will die a sudden death, which leaves the majority of people to die a slow and prolonged death. Any person who is cognitively capable of making decisions and is terminally ill should be able to have assisted suicide as an option. The alternative that is considered is not legal, but in the United States, but it should be. Right now it's legal in Oregon, Washington, New Mexico, Vermont, and Montana. Everywhere else it's illegal. This will be shown by the efforts of Jack Kevorkian and many other positive reasons, such as respect for an individual's own choice, quality of life, and an alternative to hospice care. Although assisted suicide is not explored or considered as much as it could be, if it were legal, it could become an option for those who don't have any option left before they die. This problem of intolerable suffering will never end with the current laws set in place, as people continue to be diagnosed with terminal diseases. It will not go away, and the only option for these people right now is to uncomfortably wait for death. This desperate need for some people to end their lives was not addressed until it's at its worst. This point, in 1994, Oregon became the first state to legalize assisted suicide. Today, it is only legal in a handful of states, as I stated before. Some people even move to these states in order to end their lives due to their incurable diseases. Many of us don't think about the horrible things that can happen to us until it's too late and we don't have any choice left. At this point, the number of people diagnosed and dying is so high with no options that they could choose assisted suicide, yet it's not available in their area. If it were legal in the US, it could always be an option from the very beginning. If people have this as an option, they're able to assess the quality of life that they have and continue on from where they are. Life is all about the quality and being able to find enjoyment until death. With assisted suicide, it is all about the personal choice that the people have on how the person would like to die. But 90% of people have a prolonged death, and the quality that they have is often close to nothing. Those who have with terminal diseases and the elderly are physically unable to do things that they once made them so happy. Nothing is easy and everything is difficult to manage. They are waiting for the end and hoping that it comes soon. The solution to assisted suicide is what they want for it to be over. That is something that's not a choice for all people, and not all of them will want to do, but it should be an option. For others in this circumstances, it means suffering until the end and waiting for death. One man who set out to end all suffering for those who asked for it was Jack Kevorkian. During most of Kevorkian's assisted suicides, he would videotape them and show the patient giving consent. In some instances, he would make a contraption that allowed the patient to pull the plug and administer the drug that would kill them. He never was actually killing anyone until 1999, when Kevorkian crossed the line and killed one of his patients who was seeking an assisted suicide. The patient had ALS and was physically unable to pull the plug, but Kevorkian wanted to be an advocate for euthanasia. Another mistake that he made was going on television on 60 Minutes and showed the tape that ended up stirring more debate for euthanasia. For this act, Kevorkian was arrested and sent to prison, as stated by Cassidy. As Kevorkian ended up in jail, he was unable to continue his demonstrations for assisted suicide and euthanasia. Although Kevorkian's choices were not correct, he was doing it all for the people who wanted to end their lives on their own terms. Because there's often no quality of life at the final stages of life, the elderly are found in nursing homes and hospices, therefore being completely dependent on the actions of others and helps from them. What happens when there's no option for assisted suicide in the U.S. is what many of us see today. I myself have volunteered to work as a helper at Sanford Hospice in town. My volunteer role was to give them company so they weren't feeling as alone in their final stages of life. It was one of the saddest things that I've had to do because I could so easily tell how depressed and unhappy these people were. And I can't speak for them, but I could say that I think that if they had the option of assisted suicide, some of them would have done that and had a way out. Living in a country where assisted suicide were legal would be very difficult, but nonetheless positive. People would leave the world on their own terms and say goodbye to their family and all who they loved and be happy to go. Families would be at peace knowing their loved ones were gone and were able to deal with it at the time because their family wanted to do it. In Barbuzzi's 2014 article, Who Owns the Right to Die?, upwards of 2,000 people, mostly cancer patients, chose assisted suicide in the Netherlands, which was legal at the time. These people all made the choices themselves and did it because of their hopeless diagnosis that they had received. This alternative to hospice would change the way that people would see the dying as usually weak and unresponsive, and to strong and in-control people. Assisted suicide would give the dying another option that they could have to help escape the disease from the pain that they feel. They would have the option and could avoid losing the quality of life and becoming incapable of living the life they once loved. Assisted suicide should be an option for those who wish to end their lives and before an inevitable and painful prolonged death. Anyone can help make this change by contacting our state legislator and then eventually voting on the measure, if it ever were to come to a vote. Encouraging the state to move towards this law is the easiest way that others can take action in our community.